Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana video. Today is the 6th of March. One sleep until Arcasia's Island. I cannot wait. Got some pack rush going on. Got some packs opening going on. Got some games going on. Really excited for tomorrow. It's going to be a fun day. Took the day off work and going to post up the LGS for a few hours and then come home and open some with the fam. So it should be a good day. Very excited for it. A couple things today. We've got our first Disney Famous sales. So as these things typically happen, they kind of came onto the scene, and that night they're being auctioned on Whatnot. Which I've got a lot of thoughts about that. So we'll talk about that first. We will talk about the expansion in the organized play scene in China and the additional details we got there, and then we will talk about Arcasia's Island for a second. So, getting into the Disney Famous sales, you'll see that we had two sales here, and this was 2 nights ago, so the night of the 4th. Of course, the same night that they were kind of posting on Facebook like, "Hey, look at these super rare cards that I have, original playtest, blah blah blah." Boom, straight to auction. That's kind of how these things usually go. The frying pan card sold for $740, and the Dingle Hopper card sold for $387. I will say they both sold to the same buyer. I have that blacked out just to provide anonymity. I was not on the stream. I do not have Whatnot. I do not shop on Whatnot, but someone supplied me with a screenshot. Thank you to them. You can see relative to where they priced out in terms of the trophy cards at auction, that same auction, a Top Cut Cindy promo for foil for $920, Top Cut Let It Go promo for $800. So the frying pan commanding almost the same premium as a very limited official trophy card from the DLC season. Obviously, this is extremely overpriced. These cards still, look, they probably are real. I will say the person who is selling these cards, they've got some sort of back door to the manufacturer, to the Ravensburger / Lorcana team. They've always had all the demo cards. They have sealed demo decks. They have lease cards. They've got some other stuff that I've heard of. They've got some sort of leak in they've got a resource where they're getting kind of this contraband, material. We'll say there is no chance that Ravensburger want these out there. They were supposed to be destroyed. And so I can only imagine that they're not fond of this stuff hitting the open market. They very much wanted the D23 2022 collector's box set and Mickey Mouse to be the first cards ever on market, and kind of the earliest iteration of Disney Lorcana. Now, look, guys, I'm going to be completely honest. These don't do anything for me. We're off the back of the Pokemon playtest scam where people were paying $70,000 to $100,000 for these cards that were supposed to be the playtest of Pokemon. That, of course, go to CGC and they start getting pristine tins. These almost 30-year-old cards that were playtest are getting pristine tins. And if that wasn't enough of a warning, I'm like, hey, this is bullshit. People are paying 6 digits for these cards. We now have the exact same thing happening here. They're not graded yet, but I am sure that these 4-year-old cards that were playtest will be loaded up with pristine CGC tins in a matter of no time. So this stuff it kind of gives me the ick. I want nothing to do with it. Though I will say the art for the frying pan on this card is significantly better than what we got in Lorcana. So this is one where if they kind of cleaned up this art, brought it to the actual first chapter, put it on the card stock, I would prefer this where Rapunzel's hitting Flynn Rider with the frying pan rather than just in the game we got just the frying pan. So I will say that looks pretty cool. But I told you guys I'd keep you updated on this. This is where they're at, right? I assume the same seller is going to continue to auction them off. I will say, very odd to me, whenever you have an item like this that is supposed to be the start to Disney Lorcana, supposed to be this very rare, just a lot of provenance to this card, right? The underlying fundamentals, there's a lot going for this card. Should it prove to be legitimate, which once again, I have not seen any official word that they are, whether that's from the Lorcana team, the Ravensburger team, the Ryan Miller, Steve Warner, anyone. No one. I've heard a lot of third party hey, they're real, or I heard they're real. Like I haven't seen any sort of legitimate, like proof. And once again, if we've learned from anything, these can be printed at any time. Pokemon is printing their earliest versions, or scammers are printing the earliest versions of Pokemon in 2024, well enough to where they look like they're from 1996, but they're not. So these things need to be taken with a lot of caution. With that being said, I think that there's just not a good precedent for these cards. I don't really want anything to do with them. Then my final point on this, and then we'll get to some better news, is if you have a card of this much provenance, like I was saying, there's no way you do this as a Tuesday night auction starting at $1 on Whatnot. Like these cards, if they're credible and everything that the seller is saying is correct, they need to be on like 10-day or even monthly auctions on the big auction sites. Why would you sell these as $1 auction to a very limited audience on a Tuesday night? Like it just makes no sense. And so on top of everything else I mentioned, that aspect of how they were sold just kind of gives me bad vibes entirely. Now look, maybe they have a good following, at least, I mean, like, in terms of, like, sale prices, like, probably not the worst sales, but there's no way they don't go for more if you open it up to an international audience and put a decent time frame on it. That's the proper way to sell stuff like this. So, here you go. Disney Famous being auctioned on Whatnot the day that they are released. I can't go. I follow some sports guys who are kind of going after Whatnot right now, and the stuff that goes on that website seems not good, but that is just me. Obviously, if you're an honest seller or buyer, I'm sure it's fine, but there's a lot, it just seems like a lot of Team Rocket over there, so I'll leave it at that. Moving over to Arcasia Island, just a friendly reminder, we're one day away, right? We're almost there. We're going to be patient on these cards. We're not going to FOMO in, especially our big ticket enchanteds. We're not going to pay $397.99 for an Aurora Waking Beauty. Yes, we love this card. We think this card's great. We want to have this card in our collection, but we are not going to pay $400 for this card because this card is not a $400 card. We're not going to be like the person who paid $400 for the card already. We're not going to be like the person who paid $600 for a Minnie Mouse back in the beginning days of Ursula's Return, because we're smart, we're wise about how we spend our capital, and we know that paying $400 for a brand new set card is not a wise way to spend $400. If you want to spend $400 on a card, go buy a Rockstar Stitch. Don't buy Aurora. So we love this card. We want to collect this card. We're going to have this card. We don't want to pay $400 for this card. So I'm just making sure we all agree on that. That goes for all the enchanteds. Once again, like, I love the glass slipper. Think it looks great. Iconic. When you talk about iconic Disney IP, it's got all the things we're looking for. Amazing art. Gorgeous card. You guys know how much I love this set. Like, I'm fired up for this set. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go out and get a play set of the glass slipper at $200, because this card will likely be sub 100. There's a world where it's above 100, but there's not a world where it's 200 immediately after release. We got to give these things some time to shake out, let enough packs get open, let the supply hit the market. We got to get past the 2-week time frame here where we only have the LGSs selling product, and then we'll be in a good spot. I love that the price of this Lilo and Stitch box keeps going down. That thing's, if it keeps going lower, like, it's going to be jam-packed. I will say, I thought that this was going to be a set 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pack. Like, I thought that's what the box was going to have. I thought it was going to have one of each. Turns out that it's a random assortment of those 5 sets. So you could get like multiple Floodborn or multiple Inklings, and then only, let's say one Ursula's Return, or the picture that I saw had a Floodborn and Inklings, 2 Ursula's Returns, and then a Shimmering Skies, no Azurite Sea. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at it, because it is a little bit different than kind of what I thought. When you look at it, you think, okay, I'm going to get one of each set, but it is a random assortment, so it is not guaranteed to be one pack 1, 2 through 6. So just in case any of you guys missed that, wanted to make you aware. Still very, very excited for the product overall, and can't wait to get my hands on that tomorrow. Other than that, box prices are doing pretty well. You have 104 on here, but that's not right. That doesn't include shipping. 113 for the boxes for 2 weeks out. In this case, on this order, still a lot of volume here. It's holding steady at 113. I do think 113 is a fair price, but I also think, as we get 10 days later If we see this a little bit lower, I would not be surprised. No matter what, I don't think it's really going to skyrocket unless we see some sort of insane buyer demand on some of these cards, and the boxes are gonna start to trend up pretty much immediately. But I don't foresee that. Obviously, I'll keep you guys updated with expected values, but overall, nothing that we're too worried about in terms of pre-ordering if you could not get to your LGS, because I know you guys are some of you guys are ordering from around the world and you don't have the ability to just go to an LGS and pick up a case of product, right? I've realized that I'm very grateful and spoiled that I have access to do that, especially at a fair price of sub 400 for a case. So I'm very grateful for that, and thank you for the reminder, because I just assumed that, because I'm in the Midwest where TCGs just aren't the talk of the town, right? That's just not how it is. But nevertheless, still very lucky that we have the resources that we do and the LGSs that we do, because there's a lot going on there. I had a dream last night that they stopped my LGS, put a limit on pre-orders from now on, because I feel like Cash Right Sea is going to be such a vibe that they have to limit pre-orders moving forward. So hopefully that doesn't come to fruition, because I like opening a lot of packs on release day. So, all right, finishing up, guys. Going back, this kind of circles back to the kind of bigger picture. Obviously, in the small scale of just like in a vacuum, this announcement was very cool about the Chinese organized play and trophy card structure. So there's going to be multiple ways. Let me zoom in here. There's going to be multiple ways for people to qualify for the Chinese Worlds. We have the big tournament prize, our big prize tournament, and then we have the challenge tournament. Those are combined into the simplified Chinese championship tournament, and then those players are invited to the world championships. So this tells us a couple things, guys. First and foremost, it appears the Worlds is going to happen truly with the world, right? So we're going to let the Japan Grand Prix happen. We're going to let the Chinese tournament season happen, and then obviously we have Melbourne and everything else that has happened between Oceania, North America, and Europe. We're going to have all the events finish, and then there will truly be a Worlds invite for all of those people. So that, I think that kind of adds that. So look, I feel bad for the people who have qualified, right? Because they've just been waiting. They're like, when's the invite happening? When's the invite happening? They've known about Worlds for a long time, and they're just ready for it to be here. I will say the just the sheer growth of the game and the aspect that there's going to be people from all around the world at Worlds is very, very cool to me. I think that it's going to make the event that much bigger. Obviously, people from all around the world are at Disney World every day, but the fact that they're all going to be there to play Lorcana, 18 months after release, has got to be kind of some sort of like fever dream for Ryan and Steven and team. I mean, that's an insane accomplishment. So shout out to them. We watched the Rudy video yesterday or whenever that was, a couple days ago, and he was kind of poo-pooing them because they overprinted the Inklings and they didn't package the first chapter, first print wave box very well. Like, yeah, but they have a Worlds tournament that has a worldwide audience in 18 months. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, I think we could give them a pass on overprinting the Inklings. So this goes back, one thing, to the Disney famous cards, if you will. Should those end up coming to fruition and being real, and they get some sort of validation from Ravensburger, which very well likely might not ever happen. Like, I guarantee whoever is leaking those cards to the market signed an NDA. They were not supposed to be disclosed. They're supposed to be destroyed. So, I mean, there's very likely some bad blood going on behind the scenes with those cards. I don't have any insight into that. That's pure speculation. But at the end of the day, those cards, should they end up being the original test prints, they get verified by a reputable grading company that could truly source them, verify the, card layers, whatever. They get verified. They're guaranteed authentic, et cetera, et cetera. Whenever you have international audiences like this coming in with China and Japan and just the true world as a speculator in this TCG, cards like that are going to go for an insane amount of money. I mean, they are truly, depending on how many out there, are they one of ones or they one of fives, regardless, playtest for the game, if they truly do get graded and authenticated, we're going to see a massive influx of money into Lorcana should it continue to take off and deliver at a high level on the world stage. So markets like China, we have historically seen them come into like the Japanese trophy market at a very, very high level and buy a lot of the top cards because they look at Japanese as the original language for Pokemon, and they value those trophy cards, obviously, because of the rarity, the scarcity, and the fact that there's so much prominence in those cards. We saw the Chinese Chinese market come in and really command that market once they kind of realized what they were, and once they got involved with the international kind of TCG landscape. They had some sort of like laws and legal reasons why they couldn't interact at a worldwide, market and from a TCG space. But as soon as it was allowed, they immediately kind of flooded that market. I fully expect the same thing to happen on the Lorcana side, not immediately, not in the short term, but in the long term, these, Chinese buyers and even Japanese buyers, I can completely see them coming after American trophy cards or English trophy cards, not American, English trophy cards, because of the fact, the provenance, that it is the original language. It is an English IP. These were the first trophy cards awarded. So whether that's the Let It Go, the Cinderella, the Rapunzel, or obviously the Golden Mickey, these cards are going to be sought after on the world stage, assuming Lorcana continues to deliver. It continues to see success in regions like China, Japan, and obviously it continues to expand in regions like Europe and America. We're going to see these prices continue to appreciate. Now, look, they're going for a pretty penny already, right? And so I can't tell you in the short term what these cards are going to do, but I can tell you that when the world starts to speculate on these cards and wants to collect them, and there becomes a worldwide interest rather than the very kind of limited in scope interest in Lorcana right now, we could see some very disproportionate gains. That's why I've talked a lot about the D23 2022. Like, those aren't getting made in other languages, and those are the first edition cards in Lorcana. Like, you don't want Disney famous cards. You want D23 2022 stamped collector expo cards. Those are the grails. You don't want to go after Disney famous random knockoffs that don't look very good. So I'll quit flaming those cards now. They are cool, and I hope they're real, but it just it's meh. I don't like the way that it's played out. Okay, so that's it on the trophy cards, or the organized play event. So quick point out here. You'll see we have one tournament running from the 22nd to the 30th at the store level, and then we have the city tier in Shanghai. And I'm not going to pronounce that because I would butcher it. I apologize. The 29th and the 30th. So that kind of puts us at the end of March for the Chinese players to be able to qualify for Worlds, I would imagine, or at least qualify for the simplified Chinese tournament, which then will happen in Worlds. So they seem like the pace for this is going to be very expedited, which gives me the sense that if they're knocking this out and then assuming the simplified Chinese tournament is very soon on the back end of these two, like maybe in April, then that maybe puts us at like a July to August timeframe in terms of Worlds. I think that, like if we're getting a set now in April, that means we're going to get Reign of Jafar in June. Or we're getting a set in March. We're going to get Reign of Jafar in June. That means our next release for Fabled would be around September, which, man, we're already, like, I need this year to slow down. Like, I need to enjoy Arcasia's Island. I'm already talking about Fabled here in, September-ish time frame. I think that the release of Fabled in combination with Worlds right before it, maybe in, like, August, given this time frame here for March in terms of the Chinese tournament, I think could make a lot of sense. I have not seen, and I may have missed it. If you guys have any information on, real quick before we come back to the trophy cards, the Japan Grand Prix. If you guys have any details on that, let me know. I might have missed this. If there is any details, because I'm curious the timeframes on that as well. If anyone in Discord can either shoot me a link to it or shoot me an email with the link. My email is in the description of the video. I would love to find out some more information about the Japan Grand Prix and the dates, because that's really going to help us kind of get an idea on what the time frame might be for Worlds for 2025. Okay, going over to the trophy cards. So we have some interesting iterations here. We have the Dragonfire, we have the Rapunzel, we have the Cinderella, and we have the Let It Go. Now, what is interesting, it says all promos given at the qualifier events are only available in common. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that they're going to be non-foil? I assume that's what they mean, but I don't know for a fact. And so just a couple things off of that. Obviously, if they are non-foiled, then they're not going to be as, chase worthy. But at the same time, that would be the first time we get a full art Let It Go in the non-foil variant, because to my knowledge, if I'm not mistaken, these were only available in the, once you got to the top cut, top 128 or whatever for the bigger events, top 64 for the smaller events. And this was not a prize wall card where the Cinderella and the Rapunzel were for the side event. So this would be our first non-foil Let It Go full art promo, which is just an interesting tidbit. Might add some collectability to it. Obviously, you have the Dragonfire and the same promos overall, but the fact that they will all be given in common makes me think that they will be non-foil. It does say with the different amount of maximum players, both events have varying prizes for the champion to top 8. I think that's once again going back to the sizing that we saw for the DLCs, when they had to elevate the capacity because there was so much demand for the tickets to the 2,000 number. They then doubled the amount of prize cards that were awarded and doubled the pools of what those qualified for, whether it was top 4 went to top 8 went to top 16, and then obviously the 64 to the 128. So I'm curious if these are all going to be non-foil, since it says they're going to be available in a common, only available in common. So just some interesting tidbits there. But that's going to be it for today's video. Nothing else I really wanted to talk about. The market's kind of stabilizing with Arcasia's Island. Not too much going on there in terms of like what we need to really worry about or speculate on. I would say, once again, be patient. Stay locked in, par for the course. We have time. Your best asset in this hobby is time. Do not rush to buy these cards. Do not FOMO in. Stick around for a while. Set some good goals. I talked to someone yesterday, had some amazing goals about just kind of completing their completionist. That's what they like to do, is a dad and his daughter, and so they're starting with chapter 1, and they're talking strategy about like how should I go about this, and I just love goals like that. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't get burnt out. If you've got $1,000 to spend, don't spend it all today. You've got time. Lorcana is going to be around here for a very long time. Take your time, enjoy it, set obtainable goals, and just don't dump all your money in now. You've got plenty of time. Time is your friend. So I did want to take a look at. We're getting very close to $1,000 for the Elsa. Back to the $1,000 for a near mint copy. We don't even have a light played copy for less than almost 1,000. I did want to take a look at our first chapter boxes really quick here. Cases are at $14.49. Let's see here. Do we have any sales as of recent? We had a sale 2 days ago at the $14.50 price. And then for our individual boxes, let's see here. We've got, next page, all our language variants, $3.35 for an unverified seller, only 92% low. Man, that's weird. They're a brick and mortar, but they have low reviews and very limited reviews, so that's interesting. But $3.36 for them to sell you a box, or lowest verified would be $3.50 for a box. So not much movement there. This box has been selling, though, still pretty consistently. You can see here, just within the last couple of days, quite a few sales. So the first chapter continues to these new floors have been established over the last, year or so. I remember we were talking about, like, in September, prices were pretty. They had been depressed still from the March reprint or restock. So you can see boxes were up at 300 a piece. We got a massive restock, and it dropped it down to 220. It kind of hung out around that number for a while. I mean, look, you're looking at from March to, roughly around August, September, you're kind of in the same price range, right around that 220 point. And at this time where people were saying like, hey, I wonder if we're ever going to get back to, all-time highs. Is it going to be 2025 before that happens? I had some people speculate that they didn't think it would happen by the end of the year. And I didn't necessarily call it, but I was just saying like, hey, this stuff could dry up at any moment. We've been static for a long time in the TCG world, and I wouldn't be surprised. And then sure enough, when we get to October, November, shoots back up to 320, kind of all-time highs. And then it's continued to keep a very healthy up into the right trajectory from there. Obviously, a little bit of highs and lows, but by and large, you're trending in the right direction. And this speaks to the fact that there's just a lot of organic interest in this box. There's a lot of organic interest in Lorcana. And so, look, I can't see the future. I don't know if they're going to reprint the first chapter again or not. Every day that goes by, I think that's a less and less likely possibility. I would put the percentage that they're going to, in my opinion, the likelihood that they're going to reprint the first chapter, I would say, is less than 25%. It's not zero. And I know a lot of you guys want it to be zero. It's not zero. They've never given us the official announcement that they're not going to reprint it. Now, I do think that since they released it in Australia and there's a lot of first chapter over there, and then they have obviously the Chinese and Japanese variants of this as well. I do not think they need to reprint it. All languages are tournament legal. There's plenty out there, in my opinion. So I do not think they're going to reprint it. If they're not going to reprint this box, then the first chapter at 350 is a steal. If you're going to be around for a while. Now, I don't say that to say that it's going to go to 400 tomorrow, because I don't know when it's going to go up. But 350 for the first chapter is a certified steal if they're not going to reprint it. And so do with that information what you will. But if you're around now, I think you're going to regret not having at least one of these in the future, whether it's to have in your collection, to display, to sell at a later date. I think that having a first chapter box is kind of a must-have for anyone. Not to open, right? Do not buy this box to open. If you have the first chapter, if you have first chapter goals, buy the singles. Do not open the boxes. They are incredibly inflated compared to what the expected value is. I'm not saying that they're going to come down in price, because I don't think they are. But the boxes themselves, the cards are just not worth it. We've hit this inflection point where enough people want the box to have the box versus have the cards. The sets, it's 6 sets old, right? We're over a year, we're almost a year and a half since release. So it's back there a ways, which is crazy to say, right? It feels like just, feels like just yesterday we were getting a massive restock, in 2024, which was, a year away, which is absolutely insane. Time is flying. I need time to slow down. But once again, I think the price of the box at $350 is very fair. Looking at a long time horizon, this could easily be a $700 box by the end of the year. I could easily see it get over $1,000 here in the very near short term, and then it's going to continue to track up from there. Lorcana is the tip of the iceberg right now. They've got big goals. They're doing a fantastic job. They're delivering at a high level. Look, it's risky. They have never done a TCG before in terms of Ravensburger. There's a lot of risk associated with speculating in the space. Everything, like buying a first chapter booster box at $350, while I think it's a good purchase, it's incredibly risky. It is the highest of risk. But I think, based on the fundamentals that we see and the delivery so far from the Ravensburger team, I think it's a steal. And look, I should have said this earlier. I do own these boxes. I have no desire to sell. I'm not selling one for $350, but I do own them. So it's, I guess I'm pumping my own bags in that sense. And I should do a disclaimer. Like, I have a lot of the cards that I talked about, right? So I'm kind of pumping my own bags in that sense as well. But I maintain that I am a buyer in this market. Nowhere near a seller yet. I think we've got a lot of growth cycles ahead of us, and I'm definitely not a seller. As it sits right now, still buying pretty heavily. And that's something I'll end on this. That's something I'm going to try and start doing better of moving forward. I constantly have stuff coming in, and I haven't really been showing it off. Partially, I think just selfishly, like I don't want to put out everything that I have. But then also, I don't want to come off as look at this, cool stuff. I don't know. I've just kind of been avoiding posting a lot of stuff. But I think I'm going to start doing just some opening of hey, here's some mail that I got. Let's open it. Let's see what I got. And then let's talk about it kind of style of videos. Because I truly do. That's why I started this channel, was just to there was no one really talking about collecting whenever I started. There were some people who had made some videos is Lorcana collectible? Should you collect Lorcana? How much is Lorcana worth? Look at this $1,000 card. But there wasn't a lot of hey, what are your goals? What are you trying to collect? And that's why I started this channel. I wanted to kind of build a community around it. And so that's, I want to start doing more of that. And that's just my long-winded answer, or long-winded way of saying I'm going to start doing some more opening videos here. Obviously going to do some for Arcasia's Island, going to do some for just cards that I'm buying, and stuff like that, just for some fun content. I like talking about it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Banger, almost a 30-minute video here out of nowhere. So thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, please like, subscribe, do all the stuff I never ask anyone to do, because I don't really believe in that stuff. But 30 minutes, if you're here, I'd appreciate it. And then last but not least, if you don't mind saving my TCG player referral link, it's in the description of every video. If you don't mind just saving that as your TCG player home link, if you will, I get some sort of kickback on that. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me grow my collection. So thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll be back with another video soon. I might even do some sort of live stream opening, maybe a case of Arcasia's Island or something. So be on the lookout for that, possibly tomorrow night. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back with another video soon.